Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Here on a Tuesday evening. I'm used to saying Shabbat Shalom.
Some of them have never heard that.
I was really hoping to see for the first time ever Kathy sitting at this part of the temple, but it wasn't going to happen
No,
tonight.
I'm glued over here. I like this spot.
Anyway, it's so nice to see everyone tonight. For those who did not have the opportunity to meet Robyn Fisher, may I introduce Robyn? Robyn in about 5 weeks' time, I believe, it will be Rabbi Robyn Fisher. And we, as you know, Robyn is our candidate to be our next rabbi here at Beth Or. We had the great privilege and pleasure to have Robyn conduct services about 6 weeks or so ago. And she did a learning session, which was, I think we all really enjoyed her leading the service and a learning session. Since that time, Robyn made a trip to Poland and Israel, leading a March of the Living tour. To tell you a little bit about Robyn, I know she'll share about herself, but Robyn is embedded and part of our community. She lives just a couple miles away. And she was never here, so several months ago when she came here the first time, she'd never been here before. So this, as people refer to Beth Or, it's the best kept secret in South Dade. Okay, so Robyn, let me, from my memory and our conversations, no, I don't need to take out the notes. Robyn most recently spent 10 years at the University of Miami as assistant director of Hillel. She is a cantorial soloist at Beth Shalom on Miami Beach. She is an educator at Beth Am. She leads the, as I said, the March of the Living tours quite often to Israel and Poland. And we'll learn much more about Robyn. She is married to Randy, who was here at the services for 33 years.
And he did the Kiddush.
And he did the Kiddush. And you have 3 kids that she'll tell you about. So, and we are thrilled to have 2 of our past presidents here tonight, Dr. Michael Newman and Larry Goodman. And let me give a good report on our past president, Shep Faber, who is, it's okay for everybody to know, he's battling pneumonia. He's in the hospital, but he's improving. He's doing much better. And we'll all...
Which hospital?
He's at Mercy Hospital. But Robyn spoke to him today. I spoke with him, and he's coming along just fine. So, the agenda for tonight is we'll spend about an hour in here. This is a very friendly getting to know you session for us to get to know Robyn a little bit better.
And for me to get to know.
And for Robyn to get to know our community and all of us a little bit better.
You know, you like these grand large.
I know.
Robyn's getting to know us.
At least this is better than last Friday night service when
I was really late.
when she was really late. Okay, so yeah, this is a chance for all of us to get to know each other better in a very informal, friendly setting. We have a wonderful, lovely, we don't call it no neg on a Tuesday night, do we? But a reception afterwards. So I think we'll be here for a couple hours, enjoying each other's company, getting to know Robyn, Robyn getting to know us. So without any further ado, let me once again introduce Robyn Fisher.
I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you. And it's nice to see some familiar faces as well. And I'm looking forward to getting to know you as well. So hopefully this can be a dialogue back and forth. And anyway, what would a Jewish setting be without food? So we'll do this part and we'll schmooze afterwards a little bit more intimately. So I don't know where to begin. Does anybody have a question, like just generally? Yeah.
What made you decide to become a rabbi at this point in your life?
It's a great question. And I didn't follow a normal course of study, nor did I follow a normal course of life. It followed me. I'm going to regress a little bit because I was a finance major, and then I went to law school, and then I was in business and import-export with my husband. And how I got to this, I'm not quite sure. But I started, was very involved in the Jewish community as a lay leader, particularly in Federation, and I worked my way up through every position and eventually became president of the Women's Department, held national positions on boards. I was on the National Young Leadership Cabinet. So that was that spinning cycle. And at the same time, when my youngest was in Beth Am Day School, I was studying because I went into services and I knew nothing. I remember sitting there and feeling like a stranger in my own tradition. And so started groups of study with friends, and that started growing at the same time. And at one point they intersected, and it made so much sense that my communal leadership and my learning would find its way to an explosion, and that's what happened. And I started at Beth Am leading a prayer, a song, half the service, the whole service, and then I was asked to go to Hebrew Union College to a special program. It was called the Shaliach Kihila program, which means a messenger of the community. Thank you, Bonnie.
Mel, my God.
I did make it cooler.
Oh, you did?
So
Well, we have to get
Controversial.
Anyway, so there was a Shaliach Kihila program, which means a messenger of the community, and it's a para-rabbinic program. So I started off as a para-rabbi, if you will. Sounds like what a paralegal would be. And I would lead life cycle events throughout the community. And then I was doing everything that a rabbi would do, and it's like, oh, this is what a rabbi does now? I think I'll go back and do a formal study. So I went backwards. People go to school to become a doctor, a lawyer, a rabbi. It found me. So that's a little long, but it's actually a shortened version of my journey. Does that help?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So where are you studying?
Great. So I started off my studies towards the rabbinate with a group of rabbis that actually came to me and said, okay, it's enough already, Robyn. We are all here to support you, and we wanted to take you on this journey to teach you and enable you to become a rabbi, which is the way it's always been done for thousands of years. One rabbi teaches their student and lays their hands on the student, and that student is empowered to become a rabbi. That dissolved because some people moved out of town and some retired and what have you. So now I've been studying with Wolkowitz Rabbinical Academy in New York. It's a long distance program where I study independently. The situation with that particular institution is that you have to be at a certain level in order to be accepted into it because it's so independently run and your studies are go and do. And so I find my teachers locally, and some of them are actually I study through Skype and what have you. So it's in New York, and it's not one of the major movements. It's called post-denominational. So it doesn't have a title. And what I didn't realize was that that was actually my path anyway, because when I was at Hillel, I was not only the assistant director, I was the Jewish chaplain on campus and director of engagement and programming with the students. So I ran all the services or enabled all the services to happen and all the celebrations. And I realized 11 years ago now, that when students come, they're not looking to be to be divided. That I wanted to create a more unified community where we could share and not separate ourselves. So it really made sense for me not to be labeled or boxed into a particular denomination.
Okay, so this is a Reconstructionist synagogue, and we basically follow the Reconstructionist, way of Judaism.
So I didn't really know too much about Reconstructionists,
Nor did any of us.
and apparently Rabbi Cram, who preceded me. But what I have learned about Reconstructionists is really my Torah, my little Torah, in that I like to start from the tradition, read it, study it, and try to find meaning in it, make it relevant for our lives today. And that could be a creative interpretation of it, which is Reconstructionist Judaism, and drawing on contemporary ideas and thoughts and scholars to make deeper meaning and connect more with our lives today. So that is my one scoop on Reconstructionists, and happens to be what I teach and how I perceive it. Yeah.
So, I know you must know a little bit about us now, but we've evolved over the years. But how do you see how you would fit into making this I don't want to sound judgmental, but like a more vibrant community in the sense of being able to draw in probably more young people, more of a diverse group, and also serve the people who come here to worship. And
I know that's the big question looming
and
large.
I don't know the right way to frame it.
I understand where you're going. I understand. So you might suspect from me that I have a little bit of energy. I'm very passionate about Judaism. I'm very passionate about imparting Jewish wisdom and about learning. So I hope that resonates with the people in this room and those who are not present. Sorry, I keep turning this way, but it seems to be the majority of people. So I hope that it starts here with us in this room and those who already belong to Beth Or. As far as what happens outside the community, that may happen naturally because of the people in the room. When you experience something exciting and new, you want to share it. And I hope that that's the way it begins. I don't purport to be bringing in flocks of people and know the answer to bringing in young people, but I think that I cross over generations. I have been working with young people at the University of Miami for the last 11 years. And I have 3 young children who are still in their 20s. And yet I was also president of the women's department, where I was called upon to relate to different generations of people. And I'm really more in your generation anyway. So I think that I understand where we all are at, and I'm hoping to draw meaning for it for all of us. And that, I think, will resonate with other people. I think we want to share that, which we are excited about. So that's what I hope to, yeah.
You don't mind me following up a little
Please.
bit, thank you. In terms of how you would express Judaism, and how do you say where you are, not necessarily on a spectrum, but on how do you like to celebrate or have services? How do you see how develop learning programs, and then being part of the whole pastoral process of being a rabbi?
Okay, that's more like 10 questions. But we'll start with one at a time. Let's start backward. Like you mentioned pastoral care and counseling. I have been in hospitals for the last 15, 20 years. I go every week. I'm one of the clergy who visits not only South Miami Hospital, but Baptist Hospital, and oftentimes going down to Jackson. So it's one of the places that I feel really comfortable and at home in counseling people who are either at end of life or dealing with illness. I happen to have spent a lot of time in that category. I've even taught it at Mishkan Miami through Federation. They have a special program with that. So I'm very comfortable in that realm. So that's one piece of it. The other, remind me, one other nugget.
How you would approach services.
Oh, services. So I guess you were not at services, and I was fitting into the mold of what you already had. But I love music. Thank you, Michael. I love music. Music is, for me, is so much a part of conveying spirituality and emotions and the essence of prayer. So music is definitely a big part of my life. I like to sing. I like to enable others to sing. I also really am big on empowering others to lead. I do not need to be the center of attention. And in fact, this is really odd. If you would sit here and see what this feels like, I'd be like, oh, yes. So I really, in fact, I did at the University of Miami, is I enabled students to do this. I would teach them how to lead. And I know that we have an incredible cohort of adult leaders here, and I want to continue to nurture that. Celebration, holidays, making them meaningful and joyful. And what that means could be different for this community than University of Miami or even a Beth Am or wherever. I feel that in celebrating holidays and special life cycle moments, that I think it's really important to bring in tradition, to understand where we come from, to infuse it with our modern sensibilities, but always to understand the Jewish essence of whatever we do. In fact, I counsel a lot of people in weddings, in wedding preparations, and in doing so, whether it is two people who are Jewish or interfaith, which I'm sure we would get to in this forum, but it's about creating meaning and creating how to create a Jewish home. And what does the tradition say about our wedding? And then let's go from there and try to decide what works for you and what resonates for them, for the couple, because it's different for everybody and no different for a community. I'm coming into your community, so I don't come with a set of we must have or must do. I have to speak to you, and you have to, I'm here to create and to help you move in a direction, but I need each of you to make that happen. And that includes telling the community what we have going on here. Yeah.
Following up on this slide.
I think we should all introduce ourselves to Rodney.
Oh, that's so nice.
I think we should, yeah.
As long as you don't test me afterwards.
I think we should all introduce ourselves to Rodney. Individually.
Introduce yourself. I'm Tannenbaum, Ronnie Southern.
Okay.
Following up on his great line of questioning, and there's a basis for my question.
We'll decide that.
I grew up as a child and a young man.
You grew up, I'm sorry, you hear.
Under two rabbis.
Uh-huh.
They were inspiring.
Yeah.
They made you think. When you left the service, and even as I got older, you were almost blown away sometimes by what they had to say, and you thought about it and provoked questions. Michael works very hard. The music is very lovely. It's wonderful. But this temple needs a little more rabbi in service, and not just an MC or an announcer standing up there guiding Michael. That becomes extremely boring. Okay? I want a rabbi who doesn't just pick up a newspaper article about Israel or something in the paper and regurgitates it to the congregation as a sermon. A sermon is something that you go to temple for. You can't wait for the sermon. You cannot wait for that sermon because that rabbi's going to blow you away.
No pressure there.
and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody who's my spiritual leader, all right, who I can look up to, who I can be proud of, and it's not just an announcer. I can hear that in the radio. Okay? And I don't want services where you can literally tape record, videotape the service, and because it's the same thing every week. That's not what it's supposed to be.
Do you have a question that you want to ask me, or do you want me to comment on?
What is your philosophy? What is your philosophy of the rabbi as the spiritual leader and teacher and motivator and thinker?
Got it. I figured you were going there. So I would say that we are blessed with the internet. We can go on the internet and find any kind of information we want at the push of a button. So a rabbi has to be more than that, and I agree with you. I can tell you that I can't speak to how fabulous I am. That's not my style. I'm a lot more humble than that. But I will say that I put a lot of time and thought into everything I do. Overkill. And my kids were making fun of me today because as if I need to brush up on who I am and what's important to me. But I sat like for hours just thinking about what is it that, who am I and what is it that I want to impart to you. So I would just say that I want to inspire you. I want to be inspired myself. I don't want to be bored with the words that come out of my mouth. That everything I do is with preparation and thought. And if I can't learn and teach something that I'm imparting to you, then I might as well, hang up. I'm not starting my life, as a 20-year-old. I have so much wisdom to draw from losses and, experiences and joys in my life that you naturally draw from those things. And I can't say that I'm not going to draw from things that happen in the world because I think those are pertinent, but I think everything has to be related back to our texts and drawing wisdom to understand and grapple with issues that happen, but in a Jewish modality. So, for example, our learning, when we studied together, many of you were there, it was about finding meaning from our text and why we are studying them, why do we read them, why is it part of our Seder experience? And it's finding like the meaning for it. So I can see this with new vision, with new thought. It resonated with me. And I would say that for me, I think that the goal for Jewish learning is how can we see the world through Jewish lenses? That for me is the goal. Because if we come to prayer services and we light the candles, and then we walk out of here feeling inspired, but then go back and just, carry on with our lives, then we didn't do anything. It didn't change you. Prayer and religious community is supposed to change you. It's supposed to make you a better person and inspire you to relate to other people in a more holy way, to elevate situations to make them more meaningful. And so I hope that that's what I can impart to you and to anybody who I'm in an intimate pastoral situation or life cycle moment with. It's how I live my life, and it's the Torah that I teach other people. Yeah.
You mentioned the cadre of lay leadership that you have. Oh, I'm sorry, Annette Katz.
Thank you, Annette.
Are you looking at being a full-time rabbi or a part-time rabbi?
Well, the role here is part-time. I'm very aware of that. So that's, we start...
Some of us may want...
Okay, so you don't know that. So...
Well, no, I do know what we've had. I'm wondering what we...
Okay, so I am not aspiring to be a part-time rabbi, and I will not be a part-time rabbi, except for that I will use this as my part-time, because this is it's offered right now as a part-time role. But I need to grow the rest of my half of my life, if you will, or let's say 3/4, because there's no such thing as a part-time rabbi. But to do life cycle in the community, I continue to do weddings and funerals and b'nai mitzvahs and what have you. So, no, I don't aspire to be. I will never be a part-time rabbi because it's 100% of who I am right now. It's just my journey. So my part-time will be in this capacity, and it will be augmented with my life in my community that lives beyond the walls of Bethor. Did that not answer your question?
No,
Perplexed.
I guess I didn't realize that. I guess we'll have to talk to ourselves. I didn't know. I didn't realize the position. I know what we have. We've had part-time for a variety of reasons. I didn't know if we were locked into that.
You're not alone.
Forever. I was hoping that.
So
I not to be part-time. So I guess I'm not trying to usurp what Mel was doing or not doing.
The position, as I understand it, is part-time, mostly because of financial concerns and being conservative with the budget that is available at this moment, especially with the loss of our two tenants.
Right.
So that's one.
Okay.
Maybe we can be positive and hope that we can grow our community in a way that will enable me to be more than part-time.
So if it financially changed, then you're willing to be full-time. Maybe that's what I'm
For sure. For sure. I'm going to be putting a lot more than a part-time
Well, no.
energy into this. You just have to, and so that's why I say there's really no such thing as a part-time rabbi. You have to be called on pretty much 24/7 if there's a need.
Right.
Yes.
I'm Tom.
Hey, Tom.
There are a number of interfaith marriages in this temple. I'm just curious how comfortable you are with a non-Jewish member being active in the temple.
And not just comfortable, I encourage it. I have married quite a few couples that are of two different faiths. I have found from my experience that the non-Jewish couple, partner ends up being the most involved of all of them and becomes the leader of the Jewish couple, of the couple itself, inspiring them to light the candles, to do this, to study, to go. They're the ones that become the most active participant. Not always, but throughout our thousands of year history, 2,000 plus history, we have always embraced non-Jewish community members into our midst. They were part of our community. They followed our laws. They were part and parcel to who we are and the fabric of our community. So, yes, I would encourage that, of course.
Not the Orthodox.
Bonnie Wiener.
Yes, we know Bonnie.
Tonight we were discussing at dinner with some friends, very dear friends, about different experiences we've had with rabbis throughout our lives. And we were talking about how some rabbis, just by portion of personality, prefer, are very, very good at sermons and then not so good at going to comfort families who are grieving or sick or have need of that. Others are very gifted at that, at the one-on-one, but not so gifted at being inspirational to the group of us as a whole. I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about what, the things that you feel you're best at. I don't know.
Thank you.
Everything?
I'd say no. You know what? I don't know what I'm best at. I know maybe what I'm most comfortable in, because I've heard wonderful things. I have. That's what has inspired me to keep going on my journey is the relationships, and I think that's the most important part for me, the relationships, and that you grow and you develop. And relationships can be formed not only on a one-on-one basis or in a communal setting, but through learning, through life cycle, and so I think the basis of everything that we do is relationship-based. So I think I love people and I love to connect with others, so I think that's my greatest strength. But I think that gets imparted too through everything that I do, quite honestly. Because it's the basis, as I said, of life cycle. It's the basis of celebrating holidays. It's the basis of connecting and inspiring others to do and to become more Jewish. And plus, I think that a sermon, so to speak, which is to me a word that I don't really love, because I think it's more of an opportunity to impart some wisdom or to teach. So teaching is about, what am I choosing to teach you? It's been filtered. So when I'm studying a text, or if I'm looking at the holiday, there's something about it that jumps out at me, that is reflective of who I am and where we are all at. So in a way, it's still sharing a part of me, even from the bima, so to speak. That help? Okay. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So I'm Carol. I'm
Good.
God, he doesn't talk.
Tough crowd.
I'm Carol Horvitz-Nutt, and actually I'm a professor at UM, but I haven't really frequented Hillel, but some of my students have, so I've...
Professor of what?
Biology. So,
I'm sure we can share
Yeah.
students.
So I think you knew one of my students who married. Anyway, but my question is also along. My husband is not Jewish, and I'm also continue to be interested in that issue of which you already did kind of address, but I don't know if you had anything more to say about that. But maybe you kind of addressed that. So I have another question in a way. Okay, which is. I got the sense from things that you said during the service the other day that social justice is a really important area for you. And I wondered if you could just comment for us on how you feel social justice relates to spirituality in Judaism, just kind of a philosophical question.
So I kind of hinted at it a little bit before in that I feel that our prayers and our learning has to lead us to do something. It has to shake us up to act. And unless it's just for our own personal gain and our own comfort, like, okay, I feel good, I'm coming here, I feel moved, and I'm going to go home to the comfort of my own home. But I don't think that is the purpose of our tradition, nor any religion, to be honest with you. I think it has to move us to do something. As we celebrate Passover and we understand that we move from slavery to freedom, we are to repeat that story over and over again for one reason only, in my mind, and that is to sensitize us to the fact that there are people enslaved in this world still today. What are we doing about it? If we're not willing to do anything about it, then we're just going through the motions of the Seder experience or the prayers, and we're not moved by it. So I feel that sense of connection to who we are as a people and spirituality comes from giving of ourselves to other people. So how social justice plays out will depend on a large part about this community and what they're willing to engage in or what they already are engaging in. Does that help? Okay. And I find that very spiritual, by the way. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you can open up, it's like Martin Buber says, that I-thou experience, that is a community. When you can open yourself to beyond yourself, your own, comfort, your own joy, and give that to others, you're not diminished. You're actually enriched and bigger and better for it. Yeah.
Do you contemplate having a schedule which you'd be here at the temple and available for people to come in and talk?
We haven't got that far, but something. Yeah, I mean, we have to figure out whether having office hours here makes sense, and it really depends on a large part of the leadership to decide how my time is best spent, or whether it's not here, but going to some other place where people I can hold court or something. I don't need people. I don't have the answer to that. I'll defer to the leadership on what's best in terms of my time. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jessica Adler.
Hi, Jessica.
I walked in late, so I apologize if you've already covered any of the 2 questions that I'm going to ask.
Don't worry, they'll all let you know.
The first question is simple and short, which is I'm just curious how you encourage congregants to address you. Are you like Rabbi Robyn? Rabs. And think on that while I ask you the second question, which is a broader one, which has to do with children, because our family has young children.
She has 2 adorable ones.
Oh, I have heard about you. You're famous here.
And we shouldn't be, right? There should be more kids.
Exactly.
So
we have to talk.
Part of the question is just, I have not been involved in trying to grow the child membership here at all. So part of this, I think, is on young families to try to be active and involved. But as I'm sure you and any other parents in here know, this is a time of our lives when we're very busy and we're limited in what we can give to our spiritual community.
I think most of the people in this room would agree with you.
So you understand. You all understand. So that said, I mean, I understand that some of this is on the congregants, including those people who might have connections with younger families. But I wondered if you could just talk about your philosophy about working with children, about whether we're in a unique position because we are the only young family in the congregation, and so I have never thought that it made sense to ask for some sort of like one service every 2 months that might be at 7 o'clock instead of at 7:30 or something like that. Whether you have ideas about integrating kids into a congregation, that's something that you would have to talk to other partners about too. But, and also just like bar and bat mitzvah, educational stuff, just all of it.
Okay, so you and I will absolutely have to talk separately because we have a lot to talk about. Seriously, because that's going to be a particular area that we're going to brainstorm together and probably, get a gathering of people your age, and your cohorts, your friends, your colleagues, and children together to talk about what are the needs, how can I be there to help. I don't know if that's ever been addressed to you, but certainly that would be my first step. Is like you are on my top list of people that I need to go talk to because you are part of the future of what we need to be doing here in terms of growing the young people. I have 3 kids, albeit they're in their 20s, but I feel like I just had them in.
I know, you still think about them.
I love kids. I happen to be a 4th grade teacher at Beth Am, so I teach kids. This past year I've been teaching Hebrew and Judaic studies on Sundays, so I'm still in the younger category, and I love kids. So I have a great interest in trying to, address that issue. I don't know if it's for this forum, but I think it's a really important one, and one that would bring so much joy to me personally, and certainly to this congregation to see, munchkins running around here, and finding a way to bring them into this, weave them into the fabric of this community. It can't be done with one family. We have to work on, growing that slowly. I don't know the answer. I have to speak to you about that and work together on creating a plan for that.
Okay, and what should
As far as what I'm going to be called, so many people call me Hey You, because I don't know what to call me. I've been on this journey for so long, and so it's like I want to introduce Robyn Fisher. She is, she's, they don't know what to call me. But many people call me Rabbi Robyn. It's interesting because on this trip that I just came back on, the March of the Living, sorry, I keep forgetting to look at you, many people, there were a bunch of rabbis, and they said, oh no, we can't be called rabbi by our first name. We have to be rabbi by our last name, because that's how you get respect. And I'm like, that's so not me. I would rather be Rabbi Robyn, because one, I think it's more informal, it's more approachable. I do not want to be sitting up here on the bima with people below me, like, that's just not me. So I would really, if you're good with it, I'm happy with Rabbi Robyn, and entertain that idea.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, did I not call on you? I'm sorry. Can you wait 1 second because she was patient.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. So I'm Gail Aronson, and I'm also a professor at UM, by the way.
Wow, we got a lot of UMers.
Well, we do have a couple of us, yes. So before I ask my question, I just wanted to make sure that that enough of us are telling you what a very special and wonderful place this is. It is really unique. And actually, I grew up in a conservative shul and was totally bored and didn't feel very much of a spiritual connection at all. And I was introduced to this place by a Catholic graduate student of mine who was dating a Jewish woman. And they said, you've got to go to this temple. They eventually got married, and he converted. And when I came here, I felt like, yes, this is my spiritual home. And I've been here probably about 20 years. So I just wanted to mention that because I know a lot of us feel that it's a very special place.
I've heard it over and over again, and it's why I'm sitting here.
Okay, great.
It is why. And by the way, just like your student did to you, that's what I hope everyone else does also, that that you become excited and re-energized, if you will, by not just me, but what we do together. And then I think we'll be able to bring in more.
Great, so let me ask my question
Oh, yeah,
now.
question.
My question is what ideas do you have about expanding our membership base? Because we are this hidden gem, and I think if enough people knew about us, they would really want to join. And we would love to have a full-time rabbi, but as you know, we can't afford one. So it would be a win-win for both of us. And so I was just wondering what your thoughts are, and you know, I don't think the burden is all on you to figure out what to do, that we need to do this as a community. But I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on anything you'd like to share.
Certainly not on me. I hope not. Just like I wouldn't want it to be all on you. I think that we talked about, you know, how this has to spread from internally. I feel very strongly about that. And I think it's really just about us sitting down, talking about ways that can happen. I don't have any magic bullet to share with you. I think it's really just about percolating the energy and the excitement and creating open houses. And maybe it's not even here. Maybe it's out in the community, getting ourselves out. Somebody said, oh, Beth Orr is the best kept secret. Well, that's not good, because what good is that? You know, if you go to a great restaurant, don't you want to share it? If you go to a movie, I mean, not to be like put that on such a mundane level, but when you have something exciting that you've experienced, you want to share it. So hopefully we're going to create that together, and sharing we're going to do. And what's the best way to share it? That we can do. I can be here to talk about and inspire a community to be elevated. And then it's going to be up to all of us together to figure out, what do we do with this? What do we do with this energy? And I don't mean to throw back at you, but this is a community effort. We do this together, and I'm not the one who's coming in here to say, I'm here to save your community. I don't know what it can bear, but I know that I can give you my passion and my love and my time and my knowledge, my insight. And then I'm going to draw on your efforts, because each of you represent other circles of community. When I was at Hillel at the University of Miami, it wasn't about bringing people into a space. It was about going out and figuring out, where are those circles of influence? And how can we go to those circles and draw from them? Because each of you have different friends and different communities, micro-communities, if you will, that you are connected to. So,
can I say something?
Sure.
One interesting thing that I had heard Robyn said was, first of all, the temple is a house of light, yet the only way you can see us is a little sign on the floor when you drive in. And maybe if we lit it up so that we would know that this was a temple driving by, that would be, somebody said that that's why one of the things it's a secret, that would light it up so that it said something like Temple Beth, or it may be a way people would say, oh, what is that? So
it's also each of us being a light, to project out to the community that which we are excited and feeling good about. That's all. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I think it's Marvin first.
My name is Marvin Silverberg, and I just want to comment. I think you've answered all of my questions, but mine is regarding direction and your future approach. You have been on a very long and wide journey with many experiences, making many circles. In your experience, have you found that you're able to continue in your studies? Have you found you're able to continue that wide, varied approach, which makes it hard then to focus on an intense message, a passionate message, which usually means, like me, a lifetime of doing one thing, studying one subject. So my question is,